What up, everybody? Welcome back to Service the Podcast.
Welcome
We're here.
back.
Yes. K Street, Northwest DC at Eaton Hotel. What a wonderful place Eaton is. Thank you, Eaton. You can't see him, Mr. Jamil Hamilton, Director of Radio Programming. Did I get that right? Radio Human.
Nice.
For allowing us this amazing platform, let us do our thing and talk the talk and try to walk the walk. So if you haven't been to Eden, you got to come on down. It's a hotel. There's a co-working space as well. And also, speaking of great chefs, we're going to go into the list and talk about a couple that we know.
Yeah.
My man Tim Ma is here doing his thing. American Sun. There's Kintsugi. There's Allegory. There's a joint on the rooftop that I forget the name of right now. That is just pretty amazing. And then also Alexander, Chef Ham is over here doing his thing. He's the executive chef as Tim Ma continues to grow. So just come on down and check it out if you're in DC. It's a beautiful place to come on. There's a library over here. It's just dope. I really love this space. But we are here with joined by Stephanie Ganze. She is the director of talent and culture at Cookology, and she spent the last 8 years prior to that writing. There's a big inhale. Restaurant critic and dining editor. Did I get that right? I'm sorry, it's not in front of me.
Yep, 2 jobs.
2 jobs with a huge staff. She had about 25 minions working for her. She wish. So let's talk about this list. Gideon Coleman, K Street coach. Let's talk about this list. 100 very best Washingtonian. I want to jump right into it to make sure don't bury the lead. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Who is number one?
Number one is Chef Angel Barreto. Well, actually, the restaurant is Anju, helmed by Chef Angel Barreto, who joined us for an interview last spring 2019, and we interviewed him when he was helming another restaurant that made the list, Chaiko, and we really enjoyed the interview. It was a fabulous interview, and then at the end he dropped this bombshell of, and I'm going to be leaving in a few weeks, and I was like, no, no, don't. But Anju, he opened up Anju, which is number one.
Number one, man. Number one. And the cool thing about these guys, the group, the Fried Rice Collective is the name of the company, which is made up of Drew Kim, who was a founder, one of the founders of the Matchbox Group. Mm-hmm. And forgive me if I get that wrong, but I know he was with the Matchbox. I'm pretty sure he started that. We met years ago, Matchbox. And then you have Danny Lee, who's a chef, and you have Scott Druno, who's a chef as well. And they're all partners in this group, and they've created these amazing concepts. And the cool thing about, these dudes, they just know what they're doing. The power of team and, they, first of all, they can cook. Let's start there. They can cook. Because I'm really interested in how media works and relationships, right? But the thing is, let me push aside for a second. I have some conversations with NBA players, right? And people in and around the NBA. And there's a common perception that the NBA is all about LeBron James. It's, I don't say rigged, but it's LeBron's league, right? Or the media in the NBA, they do certain things to support LeBron. It's all about what LeBron wants. The thing about that, though, I believe that. I don't know. I'm just a cook. But in order for it to work, LeBron's got to be great, right? They couldn't do that with Harold Miner. Nobody knows who Harold Miner is. You can't have a bias towards a guy that's not great. So I'm not inferring that these guys are biased, but they get a lot of media. They have a phenomenal team, and they do such a great job. I haven't been to Anju yet, my bad, but you've been there.
Multiple times,
Yeah.
actually. And one of the things that I love about it is that it's very professional but super low-key at the same time. Chef Angel's always at the pass. He's got a nice balance of calm, but also providing the urgency needed to run a tight kitchen. He speaks whatever language needs to be heard. I hear him speak in English, Spanish. My sense is that if he needed to switch into Korean, he probably would.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived in Korea, right?
I think maybe growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about that too, and I don't want to understate the fact that Mama Lee is still in the kitchen. Like Danny Lee's mother, he told me that he was on my podcast, Danny Lee, on Chef Rock Experiment.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, she's legit in the kitchen, and their story is just phenomenal. I won't go into it now, but they really care about their
I think
people.
That's
in the
one of the
review,
reasons that
It talks about she's
Yeah.
in charge of the fermentation program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who here did not read the magazine? That would be me. These two obviously did.
Just came out. Not even. Is it even on newsstands yet?
Is it
Yeah,
on newsstands?
It is.
Oh,
It
okay.
is, but
Thank you.
just came out.
So they're number one. Congratulations to Angel, Scott, Drew, Danny, the whole squad over there. Keep killing the game. Also, another former service podcast guest, your boy, your guy,
Johnny Sparrow.
Johnny Sparrow. And I call him your boy because you're in there like all the time. It seems like. Yeah.
I wish I would be if cost weren't an issue and I had all the time in the world. But when I am in there, I'm always inspired. Just
Yeah.
love what he does, and that's Reverie.
Mm-hmm. And Reverie, I believe, is a part of. As a matter of fact, it's a part of the drink company.
Yeah,
Which, I interviewed Derek Brown.
Is it?
It is.
I didn't know that.
And I'm going to tell you why that's beautiful. It's because I asked Derek, because Johnny was working on Reverie when I interviewed him on my podcast at Columbia Room.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to Johnny, met him. He's in the kitchen. Super cool dude, obviously. Very humble. And I'm like, yo, I say to Derek, so you have a restaurant. And he, Derek, if y'all know Derek, he's like very, humble. And he's just like, no, they're under our umbrella, but it's their thing. Like, that's his thing. And not like, oh, no, we don't deal with them. Reverie's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not shouting, that's drink company, right? It just speaks to the type of people they are. He, Angie, JP. They're not shouting, that's us. We did that. You didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, actually, I took my wife out for her birthday a couple weeks ago, and we ended the evening at Columbia Room. And
Where'd you start?
I'm spacing here. It was really good, and it's on here. It's
What name?
Nina May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nina May, and then we went to Columbia Room. But the tasting menu, like if you know the signature, it's all Johnny Sparrow food. Like it's straight off the Reverie menu. Some of the scallop dishes and the duck sandwich. I mean, it was dreamy.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You getting out, bro. I need to hang with you.
You said you had 2 kids.
You're right.
Yeah. No,
Listen.
no. This was an exception.
Coaching business. I'm switching. That coaching business is
Making
good.
it look more glamorous than it is. It's not glamorous.
All right.
Nothing really is.
Right.
Nothing is. Yeah,
Right.
They're all
Except
jobs.
this.
Yeah,
This is glamorous?
This is glamorous.
Podcasting
Yeah,
is
no, this is fun.
glamorous.
It's
We
nice.
get to have fun.
We get to talk
Yeah.
and say things that we
regret.
Yeah. Speaking of not things that aren't glamorous that everybody thinks they are, restaurant criticism.
Yeah.
Like, tell us about a week or for 2 things. One, you had a 50 list that you put together. They have 100. Is it all wonderful and candy and nuts?
I mean, absolutely not. It is a privilege to be able to eat and get paid for a living. That is without question, right? And it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous to bitch about a job like that.
Well, yeah.
I get that.
Peel back the curtain for us, so I don't think we understand what goes into it.
But
Yeah.
it is not, I mean, think about anyone, right? They go to a restaurant. How many restaurants out of 5 are that great? 1, right? Most restaurants are fine. So to find 100 amazing restaurants is a lot of work. You're going to 500. I mean, you're eating for this list all year. And so, but during the crunch time when you're putting the list together and you're revisiting all the places that you haven't been since the last time the list was written, I mean, you're going out to, for these folks, they have to go out to Springfield, Middleburg, out in Virginia. I think they go to Annapolis, maybe, for Maryland. My list included down to Fredericksburg. And so it's just the sheer amount of driving, you're just a hostage in your car. And then, Anne has a daughter. Jessica Simon has a newborn. And so, they're Cinnamon takes her kids sometimes. But I mean, Anne has to leave her kid at home, and so she's out during the day, driving all over the place. I think tries to get home maybe to like help feed her kid, and then just like watches her kid eat, and then she goes out to eat after that. So especially as a working mom, being a restaurant critic is really tough.
Yeah,
because you have to balance. Yeah.
Yeah, can you? I know. I just saw the tension go up your spine. Can you talk about, because really, you know, I know that reading your bio, you were talking about progressive workplace. Well, I mentioned progressive workplace practices, and just as a restaurant critic, in this conversation, what we're trying to do is understand how, you know, kitchens can be healthier places to work.
Right.
And, you know, the restaurant business is made up of women, mostly like single moms. There's a lot of single, I don't say mostly, I forget the numbers, but it's a lot of single moms that make up this business in this country.
Invisible, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
They're not the ones that get the coverage.
Absolutely not. How I mean, I would imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that played into your decision to
yeah, it was becoming increasingly impossible to be a restaurant critic and being out 4, 5, 6 nights a week and have 2 kids in 2 different spots for different daycares, has a husband that works in the city. Our offices were out in Chantilly. And so just the sheer, like I said, the sheer driving, right? So I live in Alexandria, driving to Chantilly, being there, maybe going out to lunch in Reston, going back to Chantilly, doing more work, going home, picking up the kids from daycare, feeding them, maybe putting one of them to bed, and then going back out and maybe driving to Annandale for dinner. I mean, it's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of eating. It's a lot of, I mean, there were times where I would have to leave the house with 2 kids crying and just say, like, I'm sorry to my husband. And he's like, you have to do what you have to do. Like, it's your job. And then I would just drive out by myself to dinner.
Oh my goodness. Shouts to your husband. It's like, wait, where you going? I'm going to Citronelle.
That's the thing about restaurant criticism is I'm going to this maybe hole-in-the-wall place that could be amazing or it could be horrible. And I don't know, because that's my job. My job is to find out what's good, what's not, right? And so I don't have recommendations from other people. I'm the one that does the recommendation. So I'm going to all these places cold. Sure, I can look on Yelp, and maybe I have other critic friends that went somewhere. I can text some food people that I know. But, I mean, I'm not going to places that are nice usually.
Yeah.
A hallmark of good hospitality is that it can lift you up when you have to leave behind 2 crying kids and then go drive and eat alone.
I mean, I remember specifically when I was trying to work on I think it was the comfort food issue, when I was just driving around Annandale, like maybe going to like 3 different places, and just, it was cold and I just wanted to be home, and I just was eating, you know,
prove that it's
noodles.
Comfortable.
Right.
There's somebody listening right now, like, cry me a river.
I know.
Right.
I know. But
it's the same with my job. It's just like when I was in kitchens. Oh, that must be so nice. You just cook for people all day, and when you get to taste and you get to try, you're like, yeah, not so much. I just had to cook.
And sure, there are lovely, lovely times.
Absolutely.
Especially before I had kids.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
when my husband and I, he's like, let's go to Nostos and Tyson's. We'll have like Greek tonight, and let's go to this place, and we'll have Mexican, and we'll have whatever, Afghan food, and
yeah,
it's a lot of
Sounds like your life has to be shaped a certain way for this to really work.
I mean, it is your life.
Yeah.
Your life revolves around going out to restaurants. Yeah,
but like, you know, the 2 kid attachments probably take away from a shape that works for this, right? I mean,
I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But we don't have family in the area, and frankly, like, I'm a journalist. I don't make enough money to just throw money at the problem all the time, right?
Your nanny's not following you around on your way to.
That would have been amazing. Oh my God! If we could just like take everyone to dinner with a nanny, so then when the kids get restless, the nanny could walk them around or something, right?
Be nice.
Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
We couldn't make it work.
I got you. I understand.
Yeah.
Now,
other people might be.
Speaking of going to places, the same places or different places or new places, one of the I don't call it complaints, but it comes across. One of the gripes that chefs have is about who gets media and who doesn't, right? Like, you see the same people in the media a lot. I mean, there's a little change recently, there is, but there's some people that just dominate. And I think that there's a conversation we've had and will continue to have as far as why that exists. And we have differing opinions on that, a lot of us. But this is sort of a lead, and you can tell me if you disagree with it. I think at the core of it are relationships and understanding, again, the backside of how the whole thing works. Again, from my perspective, and I'm a chef, I cook great food. Better than that guy on that list, right? This is the mindset. We're competitive. We're all super competitive. I've been to his restaurant. He can't cook better than me. Why are
How
they?
did he get that?
Yes.
How did he get that?
So that's in my mindset. It's all fair, right? Better, best, all that. It ain't that way. So why? How do you get media, and like how do some of these chefs and restaurants end up in the pool all
mix.
the time?
Yeah.
And I'm asking you this question like you're the
Right.
like you know it all.
I know everything. Sure, because there's, as a critic though, so I was the dining editor and the restaurant critic, so I was doing features, but I was also anonymous, and so all my relationships were phone based because I couldn't do in-person interviews if they were a chef because you can't know what I look like. And so, one, I guess, yes, it's who do you call for stories, right? That's what you're asking. Like, if I'm looking for, right? Like, how do you get in that loop? I mean, is there a magic answer? I don't know. Like,
So
I have the
relationships
people
with publicists?
yeah. So if you have a publicist, right, and so that name is in front of you all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's easier access. If I don't have to fight to look up your website to try to find your email address, to try to find your phone number, and the publicist just hands it to me, that's easier, right?
Okay, let's pause right there for a second, because I think that's really important for chefs listening to understand. That, again, this is, I just posted something about this. You're a human being. Tom Sietzema, Ann Lemper, Jessica Sidman, all human beings that are doing jobs, right? Let's just say bias aside, or
with
if there's
limited attention spans.
just regular,
A million other things to do.
a million other things to do. You need, who's going to help me do my job? This did this on Twitter as easily as possible. I'm gonna say as easily. So a publicist helps that because I can push a button or write a quick email.
Right, to that publicist and say, hey, can you get me a call with? And that's the publicist's job is to get you that call, right?
Yes.
And so it's harder work to...
No publicist, though. What happens? What should you... If I'm a chef, no publicist. I can't
And you want to
afford
get
one.
attention? I mean, email us or call us or DM us or Instagram us. Or,
Okay.
I mean, we're all available. And we all, live off of sources, right? We all want to have that connection for story leads and the inside scoop. And so I think it's just creating relationship. I mean, having a phone call, right? I mean, I wasn't going to go to coffee with anyone because I couldn't do that.
But basically you're saying if you want to be seen, raise your hand.
Yeah, but it's also on the onus of the editor to make sure that coverage is spread out, right? And so, but that's
Got you.
with a million deadlines and a million stories, sometimes it's hard to you reach for the person that will get back to you.
Yeah. And making sure your contact, you said something, making sure your contact info, whether it's your button on your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever, however people, search yourself and see what comes up. If it's really, I've noticed this, people used to text me you're so hard to get in contact with. I had this thing, but I couldn't get in contact with you. And I had, you got to put up a contact page, a very simple contact page. So when people Google you, it's very simple because deadlines, right? And I'm not putting it all on the chefs, but we got to take away the berries berries, like knock those walls down. And that's the reality of the situation.
I Facebook DM people all of the time.
Yeah.
So being just active on all of your socials, or just not even you have to post, but looking at your messages.
Yeah. Now you said a list like this. And Gideon, I'm sorry, I'm like going real hard. You got?
No, go ahead.
All right. A list like this takes all year to put together.
Yeah. Any meal you have all year, you file in the back of your head. At least I did. Will this place make the list?
Yeah.
And then maybe if you ate there in, March, you're like, okay, I need to go back and revisit it in the fall to see if it still holds up. But no, you're kind of like mentally ticking. I mean, with this thing, it's a beast. It's an all-year thing.
And just to differentiate between lists, I recall that the Michelin criteria are that a reviewer has to make a recommendation, and it just needs to be corroborated by one other reviewer, so that could mean like however many stars based on 2 meals. You're saying that as an individual, you'll do a minimum of 3 before it gets reviewed.
Well, that's for a
For a full review. Okay.
For this kind of list, you can
It
maybe
could be
just go
one visit. Okay.
One visit
Okay.
once a year. And so that's why it's like
Yes.
Hit
it's
or miss,
ridiculous,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Hit or miss. You know, if you say my cooking is so much better, well, on that one
Not
night,
that night.
that Thursday night,
And do you know how many
you
kids I
weren't
had
there.
crying at home when I went and reviewed it? Yeah.
You know, human beings. Once
Yeah.
we humanize the situation, it makes it a little different.
it's subjective.
It's subjective. I got a question about the initial visit after a new place, right? Because a lot of chefs, any chef you talk to, especially the people on this list, I know some people, like we all do. How fair is it? When do you first go? Like
I
either
think the iconic first visit in the city still is the Shaw Bijou Tom Sietsema visit,
that's one.
right? But it's iconic. Like, people know about it. It's in a book now. It'll be in a movie, I'm sure.
Right. I'd love to ask Tom Sietsema that question.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when it would me it,
Because he used to wait longer to go to a
he used to
restaurant.
wait longer.
Yep.
And there's certain people under certain situations, from what the intel says, that he goes quickly. Again, I'm not trying to. I don't have any data in front of me.
And this
I'm
is
just
not
talking
about
about
him, right?
chef conversations.
Yeah.
Some of my friends will say, "Hey, listen, he came too quick, and he only came one time, and he wrote a blurb off. You know, so it's like,
Yeah,
oh, he doesn't
first
do that
date.
for Jose. He doesn't do that for what's the guy in Old Town? I forget his.
Hall?
Yeah.
Armstrong?
Yes. I'm just naming guys
Yeah.
that are like, you know, they have the clout. This is what the conversations are. So the question is, what's your thing? Like, when a restaurant opens, how long before you go? Are you going opening night? Are you, yes?
No.
Oh, okay.
I also have a limited budget, and so I have to save my money. And so if I had an unlimited budget, maybe I would go earlier and then go back again in a couple weeks. But I always waited at least a month, tried to. Because I mean, for a glossy, you're not printing all the time, right? And so I like to take a step back and let them figure it out. I don't know. I didn't feel the need to be the first hit.
Mhm.
I'd rather see what can they do when they figure it out.
Hmm.
And how many people did you all touch?
Readership,
Yes,
40,000.
40,000.
Remember?
And yours lives longer too, right? So you're not printing all the time, but it's sort of,
Right. I mean, that is a keepsake when you have the 50 best. You know, it's something you can just keep in your house all year to be
Right.
like, where are we going to eat
right.
this week?
Wow. Well, I don't know if we need Tom Sietsema to answer this question about this this freaking this.
Why so early?
Yes.
Well, I think he has answered it. And
Has he?
Yeah. And just that it was so extraordinary, you know, at the time to be charging that much, and it was the talk of the town. I mean, that was...
Is that his answer?
Yeah,
I mean,
and
things
my
are
how things have
instantaneous.
changed, right?
He needs, like, the Washington Post needs to be in the conversation, right? And
Yeah.
so if everyone else is going and posting reactions right away, the Washington Post needs to be in the conversation, and they need to have a voice, and they're trying to be the voice,
Yes.
right? And so if they don't go, then they're not in it.
Correct. A friend of mine got reviewed by Sietsema, and he was pissed. He wasn't pissed. He was upset because it was a good review.
But no one's ever happy. Even
right.
if it's
Yeah.
good. They find the
You got to get
one thing.
yes. It wasn't. He said he came really quick, but the restaurant was really popular, and I was like, dude, they have to be in the conversation. And it's business. See, these are the things that as artists you don't want to hear that shit. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, judge me just like you judge everyone else, right? No, we got to be in the conversation. We're the Washington Post. We're not going to let a million other people have at this conversation. Let's
Right.
not be involved. So, it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah, no one wants to be talked about in that way, right?
It feels
Or
raw.
just- I feel it's hard.
It feels raw.
Yeah.
Is there ever
Seeing your name in print like that, yeah.
how do you all feel about when chefs, restaurant owners write about you online or sometimes articles, but how does that feel? Well, did that happen to you? Is that your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten, emails or calls from publicists before about things I've written or restaurants that haven't been included in the list.
Yeah.
And I take that all very seriously, and we talked about this. I personally hated writing reviews that were not positive because I know that's a horrible thing to read about yourself in print. I mean,
Yeah.
so I took it hard and very seriously, and I mean, I would read sentences over and over again when it wasn't nice, and I would pass it to all my like staff members and editors and be like, is this too harsh? Is this, like, I thought about that, and I think chefs need to know that we're not writing this thing to be funny or to hurt people. I mean, I'm not, at least, right? Like, this isn't, and also the review is not for the chef, right? It's a reader service. It's for the public. And so we can't just please egos. We have to tell our audience what to order and what to expect, and what they could do better. And sure, that's also advice. And sometimes I wish I could have just written directly to the chef, like, don't put coffee grinds on the scallop because it just tastes like grit. Like, don't do that.
Right. I would appreciate that. That I don't know who's doing that, but we're special creatures.
Or like not coffee grinds, but like the powder, like the
porcini powder or mushroom.
No, it was like
coffee powder.
Was it coffee? Maybe no. Was it porcini?
It was granular, like, and you didn't like it.
It just is this.
The texture
is it to
did not
cover
work.
the sand that you're not getting out, the grit that you're not getting out of the scallop? It's like a coffee. Maybe it was like an espresso porcini rub.
Didn't work. Whatever it was.
Oh, I was mad, and then they didn't take it off the menu. And I was like, listen to me.
They don't.
Yeah.
Speaking of dining trends, what's got to die? What do you want to see more of?
Okay, more of turnips.
Turnips.
Turnips. I just want turnips to be a thing. I just want us to embrace these ugly. No, they're not ugly. I don't know. They've captured my attention this season. There's just so many of them. I don't really know what to do with them. I don't necessarily see them a lot on menus. I also don't go out anymore because I don't have to go out to restaurants. Maybe some restaurants are embracing them. Yeah, so I'm still in the vegetable forward mentality. Like, just vegetables to be the star. That's what I always find most interesting. I'm kind of over meat.
Yeah.
What do you want to see?
Oh,
can I do that? I'm not
you can. I loved it.
No,
what do you want to see?
What do I want to see or say? Oh, because I had a reaction to that, actually. I was like, I think that there are all kinds of winter vegetables that we're just not familiar enough with and creative enough with that can really make things come alive. And just talking about I don't want to sound militant here. I eat meat, but when you use the word protein as a synonym for meat, I think that's lazy and sloppy. I mean, call it carcass rather than protein, because there's as much protein in certain leafy greens as you're going to find in meat, and so like don't use those terms. It's misleading. Anyway,
that's a great point.
I was also reading this amazing book that I found randomly at the library by Lisa Abend about the. It was about a year at. Sorry if I mangle the name, El Bulli, Through the Eyes of the Stagiaires. And one of the things that she talked about was just how flesh is, it's limited in what you can do with it as opposed to what you can do with produce because of the way it's made up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
And you're fighting
It's
what
just
we know.
popular mentality, like,
right.
we're a flab of meat.
Right.
Sorry.
We're just fighting it. I mean, we're fighting. You know what I mean? It's easy because at the end of the day, we got to make money, right?
And you can charge a lot of money for meat.
You can charge a lot of money for meat. You can charge a lot of money for people want to eat as adventurous as people think they are. They're not. People are not. They like the same salt, sugar, fat, right? A little bit of heat and some acid we thrown in there. Mm-hmm. Trust me. The salespeople want to eat the same stuff over and over, just reimagined in different ways. Most people, I should say. Middle America, as they say. Again, that's me and my chef complaining voice. But tell me about...
what do you want to see on menus then?
Oh, I love plant. I think plants are the future. I mean, I think you can put cream and a bunch of salt and a bunch of sugar and meat, like bacon. You remember 10, 15 years ago, bacon was just out of control.
Dear God.
And
like milkshakes.
Yeah, it just was doing too much. It was right before the crash, I want to say. I'm just like...
It's symbolic.
It's just... We have so much... Our brain can do so much more, and the brain to palate connection and the people that are doing phenomenal things with food, like with plants, I'm just in awe of. I can't name of any right now, but just
I've not been to Fancy Radish, and that's number 27.
on H.
Yeah, I need to get
The
there.
vegan restaurant, right? So yeah, I'm with
Foreshadowing
you.
next week, Amy Brandwine can do amazing things, and it's so simple too, like radicchio and citrus fruits and honey and olive oil, and it's done. It's nice.
Yeah, there's a whole family of radicchio related
Yep.
things and bitter
Yeah.
that we
So
don't.
yeah, bitter is amazing.
We don't even touch it.
Yeah.
We don't even
No,
touch it.
I mean, we're right.
Belgian
Amaro is
endive.
becoming a big thing. Like, we're getting there
Yeah.
to understand and appreciate the bitter.
And sometimes as a consumer, it's just like I can't afford to be gambling with your little radicchio soup that you want to put together. Like I need something good. That cream of crab chowder, I know that's going to be good.
Right, and also going out is you're treating yourself. So
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
you're eating your vegetables all week at home. Maybe that's not right either.
Maybe.
I don't know,
Yeah.
right? But when you go out, it's how do I treat myself, right? And maybe
Yeah.
it is the steak, the things that are just like 1, 2, 3, tick off. I
I'm
don't
with it.
know.
I'm with it. I'm with it. And I don't need a chef telling me I don't know how to eat this. It's just not good to me. Yes, Amy Brandwine. Have you been there, Centralina?
Yes.
She'll be here next week.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
she'll be joining us. So make sure you tune in right here at Eaton. Let's talk about cookology.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about what you're doing over there.
Sure. So I'm running events and programs. So we have a slew of chefs that work there on staff, and so we've always done the Pasta 101 and bread baking and pastry and mommy and me and daddy and me and cupcakes. But we're really trying to be also a place for the community now that we have a second shop in Ballston Quarter. So I'm trying to get in both guest chefs and then also cookbook authors, mixologists, winemakers, kind of food creatives. Is that horrible? Creatives? Can
No,
you say
that's
that
great.
word like that?
That's it.
Is it over? I don't know. Food creatives.
It's still live. Nope.
And also kind of do other fun food like related situations. Like we have Willona Sloan, who is a writing coach and a freelance writer and a Nordic enthusiast is what I'm calling her, and so she'll be doing a writing session, a coached writing session with prompts, and then we'll do a food demo, and then she'll talk about maybe how to write about the food too with the next prompt. And we have Ed Hardy, who was trained under Marcus Samuelsson, the Ethiopian-born, Sweden-raised, celebrity chef.
Yeah.
And so he'll put together a menu of Scandinavian treats that people can react to too. And so we're trying to do, I'm trying to, bring in new people. I'm talking with a plant-based or a plant-forward chef to come in and do a bunch of things. And that's down the line. But in February, we have Joe Yonan, the Washington Post food editor. He has a new book out February 4th called Cool Beans, and he'll be at our place on February 13th to do a demo and talk about the beautiful world of beans.
Is that a plant-based book, or is it beans are the?
I have not seen a copy yet. I mean, Joe is vegetarian, so I assume it's plant-based. But what I like about the vegetable culture we're in right now is that it's not in your face. Things used to be vegetarian, and
Right.
now things are just softly meatless. It
Right.
doesn't have to be the big thing, right? And so I assume Cool Beans is meatless.
Okay. Yeah.
His other books have been vegetarian.
Yeah.
What am I say? And then, like you said, we have Derek Brown coming, and he that's later in the month. But I should have written these dates down. February 22nd.
Okay.
It's
What's
Friday.
the website? I know we'll go to.
Cookologionline.com.
Okay.
And he's talking about his book, and also kind of talking about cocktail culture and the spirited drinks, spirit free. Have we all come up with a
Spirit-free,
What are we-
zero proof.
non-alcoholic?
Non-alcoholic.
Mocktail is certainly over.
Mocktail is one that's got to go.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
do we like? What are you guys using? What are you seeing on menus? I feel like every restaurant has their own take on what to call those.
I saw zero proof on your
Yeah.
brown thing. I like
proof?
that zero proof.
I think eventually it's going to be kind of like the just really good vegetable forward that doesn't need to mention it.
But how do you know if you're
I guess you have to look at the ingredient list, right?
to look at the ingredient list the same way you would an entree?
Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't have any steak in it. This doesn't have any. Maybe you could get there.
Maybe with a little asterisk or something
Yeah.
next to it. Yeah.
because some of the ingredients, some of these spiritless spirits, if you will,
Yeah.
you might not know as a regular consumer, especially as someone who doesn't drink alcohol. Is that a booze or is that? But yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Zero proof. Is that yours or?
Was that like? Did I make it up?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I don't know. I haven't made
President
up
tweeted
any.
that this morning.
He did? Oh,
Sorry.
nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Oh, and David Gloss is coming from Bio Bakery. That's February 8th. He's doing a Mardi Gras. He's a New Orleans native, so he's doing a Mardi Gras themed dinner just a couple days before Fat Tuesday.
And what about Valentine's? You got something Valentine's, right?
Slew of, and I think some of them are getting sold out. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a champagne sabering demo.
Any like aphrodisiacs or like?
Yeah, the whole slew.
It
of
is?
that. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
couple classes
good.
like that. I think there's some family classes, like a sushi. The whole weekend is packed. There's I think a heart-shaped pizza class. You know, a lot of cute stuff.
It isn't like a
For
Friday or
lovers,
something,
for
right?
families, for singles. There's
Yeah.
like the whole weekend is packed with things.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Look at you, cranking it in there. So who's the typical? You also have a professional arm though, right?
Yeah, so that just launched in January. It's called Cookology 21, and
Yeah.
so we're training the next generation. I mean, DC doesn't have a professional culinary school right now, which is kind of insane for the city that is
Yeah.
on the map nationally, right, as being one of the best food cities. L'Académie de Cuisine closed in Gaithersburg. The Art Institute closed in Roslyn.
Mhm.
There is Stratford, right?
Stratford. They got a couple campuses.
But
Why
really,
is that?
we don't.
Why do you think that is? Now I'm asking your opinion on it. I don't,
Yeah. Why are
There's no
culinary
cooking
schools
school
closing?
in DC. Well,
I do not
yeah,
know why, because certainly we still need trained professionals.
absolutely.
And this is, our school is not a, you're not going for your bachelor's or
Yeah.
your no, what's
Associates.
or your associates,
You
right?
like-
This is a trade, right?
Yeah.
You're learning a skill,
Yeah.
and so
I think that's what's missing, and I applaud you all
Yeah.
for entering in that space, because culinary schools. I mean, I love Johnson and Wales. I think sometimes we give. It's like I don't say over education, but it's hefty in price, right? And when you're coming out making $8 an hour, sometimes you just need, as a chef, as a restaurant owner, I just need people that I know they have these skills. Right? Some of that is almost like high school. Some of that stuff I don't need right now.
the holistic
Right.
general education, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious, and this is a question for both of you. What are skills that culinary schools should be teaching that would make for a better workplace
Oh,
culture?
I want you to answer this one.
Yes?
The emotional, right? The
Emotional intelligence.
Okay.
That's it. If you got the want, but I just need you to be able. And let me put a mirror up to my 20-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
If I were more emotionally flexible and just smart, I've done well, but there are certain mistakes I just would not have made.
Yeah.
And there's none of that in culinary. Well, let me not. There was none in my experience. They're just not teaching it. You are chop the veg, learn the sauces.
And let me go a little more granular, because like this morning I was having emotional intelligence with conversations with like an executive who's going to be impacting thousands of people, and I bet those are not necessarily the same skills that you're talking about. Like, are we talking about like very basic perspective taking and learning how to communicate so that you're not like bludgeoning someone when your opinion comes out? Like, what are some of the
That.
okay?
I mean, just, not taking things, looking at, I think you just said the perspective, what?
Perspective taking, like
Yeah.
being able to take other people's perspective.
Because if you think about the business and you think about the boss, our work is scrutinized
Yeah.
every single it's just like you put out something, someone's judging you.
Yeah.
You got your customer, the expo, the server, and eventually someone's going to write about it. So you got to be able to process that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we got some of these guys. Some of these guys are 24 years old getting these $1 million restaurants. They haven't lived
They're
that
not
much
equipped
life.
for that. Yeah.
and you open the Washington Post and he's like, horrible. You know, how do you process that?
Are we surprised that they're
Right.
being horrible when they're put into those situations, not equipped to deal with them?
That's a matter. This is one guy's perspective. I'm just saying, like, how do you process? How do I disconnect personally from that? I am not my art.
Mm-hmm.
Art is something that I do, right? So it took me years to understand.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap what anybody. I do. That's a lie, but
We all do.
But I can separate personally, and for people to do that at a smaller level, if I tell you, cooks will go off the hook. They'll go off the handle if you tell them their work wasn't right. Not all of them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
No, I need to. What do you mean, chef? It's just like, you know, you got to relax. And we enter into, a lot of cooks come in from broken homes,
Yeah.
right? This is where we find a lot of, it's just almost like the streets, right? You find a dad in the kitchens. We call kitchen daddies, you know, we have kitchen moms. No one tells you this stuff. So we have a lot of emotional energy, and we don't know what to do with it, and we don't know how to process it. So when I'm just counseling you on your job, you have people go off, man. I've seen like knives, and one of my dishwashers brought a gun to the kitchen one time.
You don't recommend that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. He brought a gun to the kitchen. So, yeah, emotion would tell, because the technical stuff, I mean, I could teach anybody how to cut, how to saute without coffee grains or whatever. That's the easy part. I just need you to be able to be flexible, and to, when the shit hits the fan on a Friday night, I need to know, like, where you know, I can count on you.
But were you not supposed to be showing that kind of emotion before in that, like, French kitchen brigade, right? I mean,
Absolutely not. You better not.
Yeah.
There's no space for you to be you. That's the other thing. You shut it down. And then when you become a chef, you can just repeat the abuse that was handed to you. It's really about human beings. It's all about the food. It's not all about the food. It's about the human being. How can we commonly come to great food? That's the thing. But in the French brigade, it's all about you don't get to exist as a human being. That's why they want you clean shaven, and everybody, you can't tell the boys from the girls, because we want robots. Mm-hmm. We don't give a shit if your daughter is having trouble at high school today. Deal with it. We don't.
No, don't deal with it, right?
I don't care. A friend of mine said that the other day. I'm like, dude, you gotta care. That's that 72 shit.
Yeah.
You know, excuse my language, but that is. So the industry supports that. The education system supports that, in culinary education. And then when you get on the flip, you know, so you just don't know how to process that, and you're left as a shell. I've never been able to express myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking, I'm drugging, I'm doing all these things, and then, you know, my life's in shambles. So if someone...
You don't have time off, you don't have paid time off.
None.
Right?
It's just a ticking time bomb. And we're getting better. We're making some strides. You know, the awareness is out there. You know? So emotional intelligence is a long way around.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which really should be for all job training too. I mean, right?
Yep.
How do you deal with people? How do you manage people? Set good examples.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to find out. That's what Service the Podcast at Eaton Hotel is all about.
Yeah.
That's a soundbite. It's a corny soundbite. But no, that is where we're trying to get. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. And Steph, do you see any other facets of that, or do you have an entirely different answer yourself?
No, I want to leave it with what you said. I think that, like, and childcare. To me, making it easier for women and and anyone parenting, right, to have an easier access to work and having a fulfilled life. I mean, for me, I like to work. I like to parent. That's a strong word, but yeah, I guess I like to parent. I don't know. But yeah, how do you support people to make a living and feel good about their living, and letting them do that with childcare options, right? Yeah. And this country is not great at supporting working families. No doubt. And so the restaurant industry is just one of the many industries that's not good at that.
Understatement of the century. The country's not good. Anyway.
The only industrialized nation that doesn't offer paid leave. It's insane.
It is absolutely nuts. And we're doing pretty well. We're doing pretty good in the economic department. So
we could afford it.
we
We
can-
could
yeah,
afford to pay parents.
we can get the upcharge, right? we can do it. I'll tell you one last thing before we roll out of here. The NBA and many like sports organizations offers training to their, like, when you come in as a rookie, they tell you, and a lot of them don't take the advice, but they tell you about the trappings of being an NBA player. 18, 19, 21-year-old millionaire. Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Here's what you should stay away from. They give them all sorts of advice, right? Education, financial, all sorts of stuff. The kitchens are not, people don't tell us about all of the pitfalls, especially as it relates to substance abuse. And I was going to say health, but I think that for me personally, I've had way more alcohol than any human being should probably have in 43 years. And your access to substances is, as the chef, you have literally anything you want. You have 80 choices: wines, beers, spirits, whenever you want to drink. That could be 9 a.m., that could be 9 p.m., it could be 5 right before service. It would have been, chefs tell you, hey, don't get too drunk. They tell you that sort of stuff. But I think direct
Right.
training, right, exactly. Direct training on and I don't think there's anything wrong. I'm not here to say people shouldn't drink, but we don't know. And then when one day we get access, and you're like, wait, that was like, a $98 glass of scotch my chef shared with me. I get to do that when I become the chef, and you just start, it becomes a regular thing. Not the $98, but that's once a year. So substance abuse, I think, because that leads to some of those other behaviors. If the guy's drunk, I've had many guys drunk and high on the line at 7 o'clock. There's no emotional intelligence when you just did 2 lines of coke in the break room. But nobody talked to this guy, how to deal with that, and we don't have those resources out in the industry. That's wrong. We don't know about them. They are out there.
They're out there. Yeah.
Shout out to Ben's Friends Richmond. They have a location. They have a chapter here. Ben's Friends is an organization that supports cooks, chefs that deal with substance abuse.
I just got a press release about this. There's going to be a meeting at
Alexandria.
Yeah. Oaks, is it Oak Steakhouse? Is it?
I forget where,
Oh my god. Okay.
but
You should post it somewhere.
Yes.
Post it somewhere.
I think organizations like that, where cooks can go, or people in the industry can go and say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this," or that's what we need. Like, that can help. So, Ben's Friends Richmond, and now Ben's Friends DC is what they're calling it. So check them out. That's all I got. Gideon Coleman.
Is there anything you'd like to say to address the elephant in the room and the hospitality industry
Oh
staff?
dear. I'll just say a big congrats to everyone at Washingtonian that put
Yeah.
this together. It's a beautiful, beautiful magazine. It looks gorgeous. The photography is gorgeous. The styling is gorgeous. I have not read the writing, but I know those women and they can write their asses off. And so I cannot wait to dig into this. I know what a beast putting this together is, and they should be really proud. I know they are. And so I just give them all the credit in the world for putting this together, because it is not easy to be a restaurant critic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and congrats to Anju. How cool to have this kind of cool casual, not fine dining place as number one.
Yeah.
What a statement that is to the industry of where we want to dine and what kind of food we want to eat. It seems like we're in this moment where fine dining, it's not over.
Yeah.
It's not as important as it used to be. And I think that's okay. More access for everyone. Anyone can, Anju is a place that anyone can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone.
Right. Stephanie Ganze, we got to have you back.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
This is a vibe.
I'll
Yeah.
come.
This is a vibe. Thank you so much for joining us. If people want to find you, contact you, book a place, book the place. You have 2 locations. How do they contact you?
Sure. My social handles?
Oh, no, whatever you want to give.
Okay,
The
sure.
website or your social handle?
I work at Cookology. There's a spot in Boston Quarter and Dulles Town Center. It's cookologyonline.com. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Ganze, Gansie. And I post probably too much about my kids, but I still do post about food. Thank you so much for having me on here. And yeah, if anyone's interested in I'm taking names for cookology. If you want to do a class or cook or come, please see me.
Yeah, so chefs are watching. Holla at Ganze. One day you'll get a true profile pic since you're not anonymous anymore.
Yeah.
I kind of like your.
It's my needlepoint my grandmother made.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
K Street Coach, where can people find you? Tell them once again.
www.kstreetcoaching.com.
And I am at rocksolidfood.com. It's been great here at Eaton Hotel, another episode of Service the Podcast. We will see you all next week with Chef Amy Brandwine. Peace.